Perfect. Let me get that on there. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing? I'm loving your background.
Thank you. Hey, I've got to represent when I
Okay.
love a movie, you have to represent it. I just had a chance to catch it a few nights ago, and just still sticks with me. For me, the mark of a great film is one that leaves you wanting more. But then for me personally, it's always one that after I see it, I have to go and research, and I want more. I want to know more about what happened, and uh, such an interesting piece of history that I just wasn't aware of. And speaking obviously of Mangrove, I'm curious. Did you have any sense, kind of coming into this role? Were you familiar with the Mangrove Nine?
No, I wasn't at all. I knew about Darcus and I knew very little about him because of a short interview at the 2012 London riots. But that was all I knew about him. So actually, you just like gave me answered prayers just now when you said that this film didn't only make you want to watch it again, but make you want to understand what was happening and research into it. And it's the same for me. When I got the script, it was like, whoa, like there was this whole story that was clearly profound and clearly mattered, but I had no idea about. And it's like, okay, I need to know about this, and other people do. So I'm so glad you said that.
No, and I'm so happy that you and the rest of the cast and crew and Steve were able to capture this story that could have been lost to time. And it's so important to make sure that these stories are heard, and that, especially in the United States, I would say, I'm not representing everyone in the United States, but there's this feeling that civil rights maybe only happened in the United, and like sometimes Americans forget that there were movements outside of the US that, not that the movements within the US didn't matter, they were absolutely important as well, but there were these movements and other civil rights types activities happening all over the world. And it's great to have those stories and those cultures represented in Mangrove in particular.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and the film is a step into the culture of this group of immigrants from West London. It's just so interesting. It's has so much history in it, and there's such a focus on the food and the musical aspects, and that plays into future aspects of the series for Small Axe as well too. When you had a chance to see the film or to be part of it, did you kind of get a burst of nostalgia or any type of tap into some sort of cultural feelings for yourself in
Yes,
filming this?
for sure. I mean, for me, I'm from Jamaica originally. I was born in London, but it's very rare that I get to see the Caribbean culture on screen. And so for me, like, small things like even when they're in the kitchen and they're listing off the food and that she puts there, and we're talking about the I don't know, like the rice and peas and the callaloo, and I'm like, this is my food. And it's like I didn't know I needed to, not even needed to, I didn't know I would appreciate like hearing that and seeing that so much. And I was basically, it was like a window into the life that my mum would have had growing up. I've only ever seen that through pictures of her when she was younger. So it was amazing for me to watch that, for sure.
Oh, that's great. And the film Mangrove centers around this community in West London, where they're just trying to go about their daily lives and continue to be impacted by racist police within that area, and a judicial system that's also impacting it. Obviously some undertones and currents, certainly, to what's happening today all over the world too. What are your thoughts on the impact that you hope this film will have on, kind of, from a societal perspective? I don't know if going into it that you could have foreseen kind of how unstable things would have kind of become in the months since wrapping, but certainly it has happened, and I'm hoping that, certainly from my perspective, that this film resonates with many and at least gives them some intellectual curiosity, like it did for myself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, what stands out most to me about this story is, apart from possibly Darcus and Althea, who were, quite heavily involved in activism and politics, like the rest of those guys are pretty ordinary. They're your neighbors, they're your friends, they're the person who's in the shop, who runs the shop. And for me, just the understanding that very ordinary people can have a voice and can actually affect change, I think is one of the most intriguing things about this story, especially for this subject matter. Usually you have, the Martin Luther Kings and, people that, Malcolm X's that you've heard of and you know their names. These guys, you don't know their names, but they have had an effect on the way that we live still today, especially in London, but also, around the world. And so I think there is an encouragement there, and it's in the title Small Axe. If you are the big tree, we are the small axe. And it's this idea that, it's not about your size, it's not about your, whether people know you or not, especially in this time of social media and, talking about followers and all of those things. It's like, actually, you as one, you matter and you can affect change.
Yeah, small community can create change, and it certainly is well represented in the film too. And yeah, even Sean's character Frank he's just trying to run a restaurant,
Yeah.
just trying to stay out of it, really. And then at some point you get pushed too many times, and it's enough is enough. And it's the perfect film for the times, and I hope it does encourage people that feel like they don't have voices, or feel like whether it's their vote doesn't matter, or that they can't change the society that they live in and the culture that they live in. Like, what's the point? That you can make a difference, and there is a time to act. And I think the film's coming at a really critical time for the world, not only in the United States but for the world as well.
For sure. And can I just add one more point as well?
Yeah.
Because for me, one of the standout things about this movie, especially because, we didn't anticipate everything that happened this year. We had no idea when we were filming it last year, summer. But the way that they go about trying to affect change, and not even trying to affect change, actually, they're just standing. They didn't, they're just caring. They're just being humans and saying, look, can we live? Can we exist? But one of the standout things for me was how they took their battle very intellectually. As much as they felt and they were affected and they had emotions and feelings, they were able to channel all of that into a very articulate way of communicating. And I feel like that was so important, and I feel like, especially in this time where all of our emotions are running wild, not just because of the Black Lives Matter marches and the people that are being killed unjustly, but also COVID and also a whole bunch of other stuff that has, been quite terrible this year. There's a lot of emotions. And I think it's important that if we're trying to really affect change, we need to be able to channel those emotions into something productive. And I love the way that was shown through this story.
Yeah, no, it's even going to a grocery store right now, or you're walking around with masks, you feel the tension around, just because of COVID alone, but it's heightened certainly by all of the other external factors that are happening. So I think you're absolutely right that it could easily slip into unproductive forms of change, and you certainly don't want to fight fire necessarily with fire, but it certainly needs to be fought to some degree. I'm interested too on your background. How did you get wrapped up, and how was the casting process for this? What was it about the script that caught your interest initially?
Okay, I mean, I was just running around being an artist and stuff, and then I got a call for Small Axe, and for this part, and as I said, I didn't know much about Darcus Howe or this case at all, and so for me, it was like, whoa! I read this script, and I was like, how do I not know this? And firstly, what first jumped off the page was, like, as I said, the culture. Like, Darcus was Trinidadian, but he was from the Caribbean, and there was something about that culture and I've never read that in a script. And so for me, I was like, whoa, I feel at home here. And so, yeah, I started auditioning for it. And actually, personal story, I actually went to Letitia's house. Letitia's one of my friends. She's like my little sister, right? And so I went to her house to film the tape with another one of my friends. And I didn't know that she was already cast in it to play Althea. And so I'm here doing the tape, and she's like, "Oh, what are you taping for?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't really speak about it. It's just it's under wraps." And she's listening to me say the lines. She's like, "Hold on, I know those lines. Are you going up for Darcus?" And I'm like, "Yeah. How do you know?" And she's like, "Dude, I'm already involved. Like, you better do this good because I want you involved." And
oh, that's so great. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. And she's a powerhouse in this as well too.
She's incredible. I'm so proud of her work in this.
No, and it's obviously unconventional times. You mentioned kind of going over to each other's house. I don't know if that's even possible, now in these days. How are you adapting to the circumstances with everything with COVID? Just personally, I don't know if you're an extrovert or an introvert. I'm just really curious how folks are coping right now.
No, I'm actually very introverted. So when this COVID first hit, apart from obviously people dying, it suited me, and I was already in writing mode as well. So having all of that time alone, not being around people was like my comfort zone, if I'm honest. But interestingly enough, I found myself, as much as I am introverted, really wanting to be around people, and that's, I think about 4 months in, that really hit me, of just like, I miss people, as much as I'm always trying to get away from them, I actually miss people, and I miss seeing someone and hugging them, just the little things. And so, yeah, that's took a lot of getting used to. But it's actually also strange how quickly it becomes normal, COVID's been around for, I don't know, 6 months, and it feels like 2 years already, of just like an alternate reality. But where, I think if I look back at history, one thing that I do know is that when we face challenges as humans, we adapt and we innovate and we overcome. And so I'm very hopeful about the future.
Likewise, look at us here. We're holding a press junket virtually, and it's going well.
That's what I'm saying. We'll
Yeah,
find
I'm hopeful too. I know, like, one of the first things, once this is, once it's safe to do so, it's people are going to be getting lots of hugs at some point.
I'm going to be given about 50% of them this worldwide. Hugging strangers, it's going to get uncomfortable, but yeah.
Or during the shoot, anything stand out as far as the way, I always find that Steve does such a great job capturing realism in almost a documentary type style. As you're acting in scenes like that, is there any particular challenges or things that stand out in kind of working with Steve?
If I'm honest with you, one of the biggest challenges, I can say challenges, Steve is excellent at everything that he does. Like, he's just an artist, and he gives 110% of himself in every moment. There's no small talk with Steve. There's no mediocre conversations, whether you're on set or off set. And to be around someone like that, it just kind of makes you want to deliver the same. And so it made me very aware of, oh man, I've got so much work to do. And so I guess that was one of the challenges, was just trying to deliver on the same level that he was coming in, and even try to exceed that in a healthy way. I think it was because one of the beautiful things about Steve is, as excellent as he is at his craft, he's so just down to earth. He comes to set in a tracksuit and some trainers, and he's just on the ground with you. There isn't any hierarchy with him, and he really is a people's person. And so there was this energy across the set, not just the cast, but the crew as well, where everyone's just involved, and we know that we're all here to work together and create something beautiful that matters, and hopefully other people will care about too. So yeah, it was a wonderful time working with him, for sure.
Well, it definitely came across in the film as well too. And it's almost, we feel spoiled to get however many small acts features coming, right around the holiday season. So, despite how terrible things may seem, at least from people have been talking about, like, there's nothing to watch. There's fewer and fewer pieces of cinema, but to be able to get five or so works of art, they're all their own film. I've never quite seen anything like this presented in such a series. Did Steve ever share with you why he decided to kind of do it as an entire series versus kind of standalone films?
No, I mean, to be honest, when we first started, I thought this was just going to be a TV series, and it was at first. But he kept saying to us, this is film. I don't do TV. This is film. But I just thought he meant he was filming on film. I didn't realize that actually in mind to make these entirely separate standalone projects in of themselves. But I'm really glad that he did, because I think that they do, like, I didn't get a chance to read all the scripts, but they told me about the other stories that were being told. And I was like, whoa, like, these are stories within themselves. As much as they are related to each other, they are their own thing. And I think making them in the way that he has done and distributing them in the way that he has allows them to each have their own voice and their own platform and to stand for themselves. And I think I'm glad that's happening.
Well, the works of art, the reception has already been so strong, and I can't wait for our audience to check it out as well. Are you doing anything to celebrate with friends or family virtually, or possibly in person for the official premiere release?
Do you know what? I'm not, but that's a great idea. So I might have to take you up on that. Thank you.
Sure, of course. No, I've been big into virtual happy hours right now. Probably have had one too many, but there are these little cute kits you can send out to pass along to mail out to folks, and so there's a ton of things. Back to the fact that we're innovating right now. I'm innovating in ways to drink together and celebrate together. So,
well, do you know what? Now that you've said that, because one of the people that I'm most looking forward to sharing this with is my grandma, but she's not very tech efficient. So I'm gonna have to sit down with her and teach her how to use a Mac or something, so we can have a watch of it and a premiere of it over Zoom or something, because that would be amazing, for sure.
Well, I'm sure she'll love it as well too. Just again, just so full of culture and representation and intellectual curiosity from my perspective. I hope other audiences, our audience, walks away with seeing it that way as well too. Again, congratulations on the film. I hope that at some point when I go overseas again, and it will happen, that I'm one of those lucky recipients of a hug as well too. I'll be on the lookout for you.
Hey man, I'm here, man. I'm ready.
Well, take care. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.